Today we're going to learn about surface area, and this is the last one of the type of measurements we're going to learn about. Now you might say to me, what is surface area? And I say to you, it's the area of the surface. Duh. And you go, what are you talking about? Well, when you talk about a three-dimensional figure, like remember a cube, okay, a cube is made up of what? It's made up of four on the four sides and the top and the bottom, but it's made up of 6 squares. So if you want the surface area of a cube, you got to find the area of the 6 squares. Now again, what is the formula for area of a square? Well, isn't it side to the second power, side squared? That's what a square is, right? But in a cube, all of these sides, they're called edges sometimes, all of these sides of the cube are the same length. So this side and this side are the same as this side and this side. So when you find the area of one of them, you've actually found the area of all 6 separately. And then you could add s squared plus 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 s squared. Or if you don't want to add the same thing over and over again, just multiply times 6. So the surface area of a cube is equal to 6 times the side to the second power. And again, that's very important that you know the formula. You don't really need to know where the formula came from, but you do need to know the formula. So if I had a cube, and I said, excuse me, and I said that the size of the cube were, I don't know, maybe 9 centimeters, okay, then I could find the surface area by using the formula. All of these come back to knowing the formula. And then replacing the variable with its value, in this case, the side is 9 centimeters, and then use the order of operation. Do exponents before you do multiplying. 9 to the second power is 81. By the way, centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. And then you got to multiply that times 6. Now again, remember you don't have to do the multiplication, all right, because you have a calculator that I'm allowing you to use. Now the thing I want you to understand here is that surface area is a square measurement, not a cubic measurement. Volume yesterday was a cubic measurement, but surface area is a square measurement. And why is surface area a square measurement? Because it's area. And all area is two-dimensional. I want to know what fills in the sides of this thing right here. Okay, that's a 2-dimension, which is a square measurement. And area is always a square measurement. So again, to find the surface area of a cube, we want 6 times s to the second power. Now, let's look at the other one we learned, which was a rectangular prism. Now again, the sides of a rectangular prism are all rectangles. The top and the bottom, the front and the back, the left and the right. They're all the same thing, they're rectangles, but they're not the same kind of rectangles. Now again, you know that if you want area of a rectangle, it's length times width. And by the way, if you looked at, excuse me, if you looked at the bottom, this is the length. I don't know if you can see, I wrote an L there. This is the length, and this is the width, the W. So I could find the area of the bottom by doing length times width. And by the way, you got the exact same thing on the top. You have a length and a width, maybe this way, length and width. And it's the same length and width on the front and the back. So to find the surface area of a rectangular prism, first you go 2 times length times width. And that'll give you the area of the top and the bottom because you have length and width. Length and width. Now, what if I want the front and the back? Well, the front has the length still, the same length as the top had, but it doesn't have the width, it has the height. So this is length times height. And that's the same as on this side, length times height. Okay? So I can then add plus 2 times length times height. But then I still have my left and my right. So what kind of rectangle is this? Well, it's got the width, the same width as the bottom had, and it's got the height, the same height as the front had. So it's width times height. And you got 2 of them because it's the same width and height on this side. So it's plus 2 width times height. And again, this is a kind of long formula, okay, because there's a lot involved. You have length, width, and height, and you have them in different combinations depending on top and bottom, front and back, left and right. But again, if you just find out what those measurements are and plug them in, then you can work it out. So if I was to give you a rectangular prism, and I was to tell you that the length was maybe about 8 inches, and the width was 4 inches, and the height was 3 inches, all right? Then I could do 2 length times width would be 2 times 8 inches times 4 inches, plus 2 times length times height. The length is still 8 inches, so 2 times 8 inches, and now the height is 3 inches, plus 2 times width times height. The width was 4 inches, that's a 4, and the height is still 3 inches. And again, if you use the order of operations to work it out, you do all multiplication before you do any addition. So 2 times 8 is 16, times 4 is 64. Inches times inches is inches squared. By the way, again, I'm doing the multiplication real fast in my head. You don't even need to worry about doing a multiplication because I'm letting you use a calculator. But 2 times 8 is 16, times 3 is 48. Inches times inches is inches squared. Plus 2 times 4 is 8, times 3 is 24. Inches times inches is inches squared. And then you have to add these. And again, I can't do that in my head. I could, but it's most probably a lot faster and safer to do it by writing it out. 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 4 is 16, carry your 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 2 is 13. So my answer is 136 inches squared. And again, excuse me, knowing the formula, surface area of a rectangular prism is 2 times length times width, plus 2 times length times height, plus 2 times width times height, makes it pretty easy to find the surface area. And by the way, if you couldn't remember the formula, as long as you know surface area is the area of the surface, you could kind of look at the length, width, and height and look at the sides of this thing and figure it out. But it's a lot better to know the formula. All right? Now, the one that's really the most difficult to understand, okay, is the surface area of a circular cylinder. And the reason is because of the sides here. The top and the bottom are not a big deal. The top and the bottom are both circles. They're the same size circles. And we know the area of a circle. We figured that out already. Area of a circle is pi r squared. Pi are not square, pi are round. But again, you have 2 circles. So if you want the surface area, of a cylinder, okay, you start with 2 times pi r squared. Because again, the top and the bottom are circles, and the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared, and you have 2 of them. So that's the top and the bottom. But the really hard part to understand is, how do you find the surface area of something that's around this thing. And that would be very hard to figure out, except thanks for the people who made soft drinks, and thanks to the people who made paper normally at 8 by 11.5 inches, it kind of works out neat that if you took a piece of 8 and 11.5 inch paper and fold it in half, and if you lined it up on here, it fits exactly around the can. So it's kind of like, if I want the surface area of this, if I could somehow or another cut the cylinder and unroll the side, look what I wind up getting. I get a rectangle. So again, the area around here is exactly the same as the area of this rectangle. Now again, remember that the area of a rectangle is length times width. But when it's on the circle, it's not a length, it's curved. And the width is really the height, right? But if you look at this circle, the length, that when you unwind this thing, the length is the same as the diameter, isn't it? Okay, so what do I know about diameter? Diameter is pi times d. I'm sorry, it's not the diameter, it's the circumference. I knew I said that wrong, but I don't know, I was thinking, what am I talking about? The circumference is the distance all the way around, and the length is the distance all the way around. And circumference is pi times diameter. Okay? Now, the other part here, okay, is the height. Okay, so it's pi times diameter times height. Pi times diameter being the length, which is really around the outside of the circle, circumference, and the width is really the height. So this is the formula. By the way, sometimes this formula is written 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And again, why is this and this the same? Because 2 times the radius is the same as the diameter. Okay? So again, this formula is not as easy to see as the other two were. But it can be seen, especially if you could unwind this distance around here and make it a rectangle. Because the length of the rectangle is really the circumference of the circle, and the width of the rectangle is really the height of the cylinder. And again, that's how you get the formula. So it'd be nice if you would know where the formula came from, but the honest truth is, like with all formulas, you don't need to know where the formula came from, you just need to know what the formula is. Because if you know the formula, replace the variable with its value, then you can always work it out. So if I was to give you a cylinder that looked like this, I'm such a great artist, and if I was to say that the radius was, say, 3 meters, and the height was like 9 meters, okay? And I wanted you to figure this out, I just have to replace the values in here. So this would be 2 times pi is 3 14/100. The radius is 3 meters, and I got to square it, plus pi is still 3 14/100, times the diameter is 3 and 3, which is 6 meters, and the height is 9 meters. So then I use the algebraic order of operation. I do exponents first. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. By the way, meters times meters is meters squared, so that's 3 14/100 times 2 times 9 meters squared. Plus here, I still have 3 14/100 times 6 meters times 9 meters. Now, here's where your calculator really comes in handy, multiplying this out, because I can't multiply this one out in my head. 2 times 3 and 1400ths I can, that's 6 and 2800ths. But then 6 and 2800ths times 9 is definitely a 1 in doubt, work it out. 72 carry your 7, 18 and 7 is 25, carry your 2, 54 and 2 is 56, 2 places behind the decimal, that's 56 and 5200ths. By the way, that's 56 and 5200ths meters squared. Plus, over here, I would do 6 times 9 is 54, meters times meters is meters squared, and then I would multiply 3 and 1400ths times 54, 16 carry your 1, 4 and 1 is 5, and 12, 0 here, 20 carry your 2, 5 and 2 is 7, 15, and I get an answer of, with 2 places behind the decimal, 169 and 5600ths meters squared. And then you add those two to get your final answer, which again, you could do it by hand, but I definitely recommend that this is one time that you use your calculator, and your answer is 226 and 800ths, but it's meters squared. And again, all surface area is a squared measurement because surface area is area, and area is a square measurement. So that's the 3 types of surface areas. That's the only 3 types of surface areas I'm going to make you find. When you get to high school, they're going to make you find other ones, but I'll let them worry about that with you. I think this is plenty enough for you to know at this age in 6th grade. So again, you have 3 new formulas, okay, that you have to learn. The surface area of a cube is 6 times the side squared. The surface of a rectangular surface area of a rectangular prism is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. And the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus pi dh. Okay? And again, once you know the formulas, you just replace the variable with its value, use the order of operations, and work it out. But remember, just like area is always a squared measurement, surface area is always a square measurement. And to be honest with you, in grading a lot of your home quizzes and homeworks, the problems you're getting wrong, a lot of times it's not your answer that's wrong, it's your unit of measurement. So again, perimeter is a straight measurement, just feet, centimeters, meters, inches, whatever. Area is a squared measurement, square feet, square inches, square centimeters, square meters. Surface area is a square measurement because it's area, so square inches, square feet, and what have you. And remember what we learned the other day, volume is a cubic measurement. So when we're dealing with surface area, which you will for your homework tonight, make sure your answer is a square measurement.